Oh, hey, welcome to the data center. Come on in. And here we have our Senior Vice President of Data Center Engineering and Operations, Ed Dzurko. Ed, how are you?
Good, AJ. Nice to see you.
This is something we've been talking about for a long time. We talk a lot about our cloud and backup and DR services, but we never really talk about our data centers. Ed's been with us for 24 years now and has seen basically everything that goes on in every one of our data centers. So
that's correct.
This is where it all starts, like right here in this front entrance too.
It is. So yeah, this is the foundation of all the other services that Expedient provides to all its clients. So when you came in today, you came into their person trap, which is 2 doors, which is a small entrance there. The doors are interlocked, so we can validate and make sure we're protected inside the building. Once you're validated inside the building, you can check in here at our visitor kiosk powered by our support management console. So all clients are entered into the support management console and then validated upon arrival. So inside the console, there's approvers and there's visitors and there's vendors and there's people that can, the approvers actually make the list of people that can enter the data center and enter the client spaces at any given time. Our front desk analyst that's powered by someone sitting here or in our operations support center will then validate those visits with a valid driver's license and then authenticate them, and then you'll be issued a permanent or a temporary badge that is timestamped for when you come in and when you leave the data center.
And that's all part of our security and compliance. We get asked a lot about PCI DSS, high trust, SOC 1, SOC 2. A lot of that comes back to physical access to the data center. And so when you're moving into a space that is not yours, this is how we're able to help you with that compliance and attest to that. So
Correct.
If I'm a client, how do I get a log of those visitors?
Yeah, so you can just request that through the SMC again, as we talked about, and our support staff will provide that to you. And it'll show timestamps of who was in and who was out and who was validated, so we meet all those security parameters. You'll see as we go around the data center, from where we have our cameras strategically located to our biometrics into the data center and some of our other security features that provides those levels of security and that level of logging that's required for those certifications.
Awesome. Let's go see that data.
Yeah, let's go check it out. So before we go into the data center, we're going to check out some of our monitoring applications that we have right here. So this is our EnvironNet monitoring system. So these 3 screens are just an example of what we're looking at here inside the data center. This screen located by me is looking at one of our CRAC units, computer room air conditioner. So that's what provides all the cooling to the raised floor and all the computer equipment. So this system tells us what's going on inside the unit, tells us what the fans are doing, the compressors are doing, how much cooling, how much dehumidification or humidification is going on. It also does some predictive analysis for us so we can see when maintenance is required or when we have to take an action so we don't have any failures. Our screen here in the middle is our thermography map. So this is telling us what's going on temperature and humidity wise. So we're measuring all the temperature and humidity in the cold rows, and you can see some of them the numbers there. So they will show us, and we'll have predictive time on that as well, that gives us examples of what the trends are doing so we can take an action as well to make sure we provide adequate cooling to all the cabinets. And then our third screen over here by you, AJ, is an example of everything that's going on inside the data center. So that's everything we're monitoring inside this data center. We monitor anywhere between 50 and 75,000 points in all the data centers. So we know what's going on with any particular system in the data center.
And this is just one part of our data center too.
That is correct.
This is actually 2 separate sides to this data center. So we're going to walk through one side. How many total square feet do we have in this data center?
So here at our Pittsburgh-based data center, we have almost 30,000 square feet of data center. We're going to see the one portion of it here today and show you 2 separate rooms and show you some different features of those rooms.
How much do we have total though? Because I know we have more than one data center.
We do. Across 15 data centers, we have about 250,000 square feet of raised floor white space available for clients and what we're having clients housed in today.
Let's go take a look at something.
Yeah, let's go see that.
So I think this is a really great look at what an enterprise level data center looks like. Right? A lot of folks have a couple racks in a room, or they've got a old, kind of closet space that they put together. When you start to get into scale and you start to need more reliability and resiliency, this is what it really looks like.
Yeah, it takes a lot. As you can see, we've come up a ramp, so we're up about 24 inches off the slab. So that allows us to provide the proper cooling required under the floor and to the servers and to the infrastructure. Also allows us to do a lot of our cabling. So we'll see a little bit of that and how it gets into the racks and what it takes. We're going to be looking at about 10,000 square feet of data center separated by 2 rooms, so 5,000 roughly in each room. And you'll see the different attributes to each of the rooms. They're very similar, but just a little bit different on how they're laid out.
And we have biometrics on this part of the data center because this is actually going out onto the floor. This is where all of our clients are.
That is correct. So if you notice, we came in with our HID data, just one factor coming into the basically shared space. And then once we get into the data center, it's biometric, it's Expedient only entrance. So even as a client, if you are on an approved list and you're granted access, you have to be escorted by Expedient through the biometrics. No clients have access to biometrics.
All right, let's go take a look.
Let's go take a look.
So Ed, we have some very large black boxes in this room. What are we doing over here?
You got it. So what we see here is we were talking about the crack units, computer room air conditioners that we saw on the wall we were looking at. That's what these are. So these are typically just like your home air conditioner that you would see, only about 10 times larger than what's in your house. So these units take all the hot air through the top and discharge cold air underneath the floor. And that's how we distribute the air. This is all common plenum. So it's pressurized under the floor, and then the air comes through the perforated tiles, and we locate these strategically in front of the cabinets to provide adequate cooling to all the cabinets. All these units are linked together so that they're all talking. So like we talked about what they were doing out on the floor about humidifying and heating and cooling, they all talk on a proprietary network, so none of them are fighting each other. So we're all working in what's called teamwork mode to provide enough cooling what's going on. We measure things like fan speed, we measure air pressure above the floor, under the floor, and outside the room to ensure we're doing the right things, not drawing the room negative or positively pressurizing it, and we're recirculating all the air. We want to get as much hot air back and out of the compute devices and cooled again and back underneath the floor.
And as we kind of go down the row here, you'll see the back of some of our enterprise cloud pods. And I noticed we have these blue and red power cables on the back.
Yeah, so what we do here at Expedient is all of our electrical systems are designed in a 2N configuration. So that means it's 2 times our need. So we have an A and a B. So the A is our red cord and the B is the blue cord. And we carry that all the way through the cabinets, the PDUs, our conduit that we use under the floor that houses the electrical connections, all the way back to our PDUs, our power distribution units, are labeled and color-coded red and blue, and you'll even see later on the tour that we carry that through the UPS and the power room scheme so we can clearly delineate it.
So I think we have something special in our data centers
we do.
that nobody else has.
We do.
Can we see that?
Yeah.
Can we see our slimline cages?
We could take a look at that. So
let's go take a look at those. We'll go down here?
Yeah, we could go take a look at this one, and then we'll see a good example of it too. So this is one example of our slimline here, AJ. So basically, it allows us to get a dense footprint of cabinets in a really relatively small space. So what this feature here is a roll-up door. So when a client wants access, we come in and we open this door, it rolls up out of the way, and they have access to the front and back of the cabinets. It's actually compressed just a little bit, so we save floor space, and that actually saves costs for the clients. So we're able to get them in a smaller footprint and provide a higher level of security.
Right, they want the cage for the additional layer of security.
Correct.
But they also don't want to pay for the additional floor space that they would be taking up.
Correct. A traditional cage would require 4 feet in front and behind the cabinets to provide adequate working clearances. And in this case, we can roll the cage away so those clearances are now provided when the cage door is up.
That's amazing.
It is a pretty cool product.
So how does the power actually get in here?
Well, we're going to see that in the power room just down the road a little bit, but we actually have 2 feeds that come in from the utility company. So again, an enterprise data center is equipped with multiple feeds, typically 2 or more. We have 2 here, so that's how we're doing it. All the power into this particular room is run through our conduit to our PDUs, which are power distribution units, and then we run individual circuits to all the cabinets inside either the cage or outside on the raised floor.
So let's go take a look at how that happens.
Yeah, let's go take a look at that. So here we are in our first power room. It just happens to be the blue B side room. As you can see, delineated by the blue floor tiles we talked about. You saw the red and the blue in the cabinet, so it all starts right here. The switchgear here to my left is what controls our power from normal to emergency. So this is all the mains coming in from the utility company, and on the ends we're framed by our transfer switches. The transfer switches is what controls the transition of power from normal commercial power to the emergency generators. So these devices, the transfer switches, sense a loss of commercial power. They send a signal to the generators to start the generators, and then they transfer all this load over to the generators. The generators carry it so commercial power comes back.
And I think this is the type of investment that is required. We've heard a lot about new AI data centers and how much power they require.
Correct.
This is what you have to do in order to make that all happen.
This is table stakes to make that happen. That's exactly right. So you need reliable power, or else nothing else upstream is really working, or any reliability you build in there doesn't work if you don't have the foundational systems here in these power rooms, from utility to the switchgear to the generator plant as well.
And so in between my rack of gear and the generator, we have these switches. Do we have anything else that's helping along that way?
We do. Let's walk around the corner here. We'll check out the UPS system. So over here, you'll see our UPS system. So this is an uninterruptible power supply. So basically what this does is it takes the current waveform in from the utility company, which is AC. It cleans all that up. We change it to DC and we charge our batteries here. Then we change that back to AC and we feed that back out to the raised floor, to the PDUs and to the customers. So that allows the waveform to be perfect when it goes out to the raised floor and out to the cabinets.
Because I think that's a big thing for a lot of organizations, especially our manufacturing customers.
Correct.
Who might have power that's, we'll call it dirty power, where it kind of wiggles a little bit. You don't have consistent, nice power feeds. So being able to come in here, I think, helps clean up some of those power problems that some customers may be experiencing.
That is correct. So we always have true power, and it's a perfect sine wave every time we get out to the floor. So the battery plant that we have here, so we talked a little bit about the transfer switches and a transfer between commercial and generator power. The UPS makes that happen, and without any interruption to the raised floors. So clients, their equipment, they never see any of that. So basically, upon a power interruption, the transfer switch, like we talked about, senses that. Commercial power has gone away, but the UPS is connected and the batteries discharge, and they provide power to the UPS, which in turn provides power to the raised floor until the generator comes back on. Our battery plant here today is capable of carrying the load for 15 minutes without commercial power coming back. So we're basically up on the generator within a minute is what our time sequence is here at Expedient.
And I think it's kind of like when you have a phone and it's plugged in, everything's great. When you unplug it, your phone doesn't shut off. It instantly switches the battery, and then you plug back in, and the battery starts charging.
That's a great analogy on how that works. So very similar to what happens there.
So we're in the blue room right now.
That's correct.
So this is the B side.
That's right.
What does the A side look like?
Let's go through those doors. So another room looks exactly like the B side, right? This is our A side. So again, the red floor tile, red labels. So we carry that theme all the way through our power plant to make sure we ensure that redundancy. We're built to 2N on the power plant redundancy. So why would we build? You can't build just one. You have to build two to provide that. So these systems run at 50%, designed to run at 50% load in normal operating scenarios. If one side fails, this entire room could fail, and that room can handle the load, and vice versa. So all this equipment is running at 50% load.
And I think that's part of the resiliency and redundancy story of why we are able to offer our 100% SLA on a lot of our services, is knowing we have folks like Ed and our engineering staff who are taking care of all the mechanical work on the back end to make sure that when we have power issues or when we have cooling issues, that they're taken care of quickly.
That's correct. So I have a team of individuals located in all of our data centers that manage and maintain all this equipment. So the maintenance that happens here is very critical to our ability to provide that SLA. So monthly we're doing work inside the data center and on the power plant and on the mechanical systems. Quarterly we do more testing and where we actually test the UPS systems, we test the backup emergency power plants. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Then quarterly we actually do maintenance on the UPS system, where we bring in all the maintenance providers and all the manufacturers to service the units, service the batteries, and service the switchgear to ensure we're actually getting the proper product at the end of the day, right? And everything works appropriately.
And it's kind of like keeping up with the maintenance on your car. You got to do the oil changes. You got to get your brakes checked. You got to get your tires checked. Otherwise, you get a flat tire. You're like, oh no, why'd that happen? Well, because you didn't check your tires.
You didn't do your maintenance. Exactly right.
And there was some other sort of things that we see here on this side where we see like the thermal imaging port. So it's not just, hey, come in and look at how charged the batteries are and what's their state of charge rates. We can even see things like how hot things are getting.
Correct. So we use the thermal imaging ports. We do that annually. So we open those up, we put a thermal imaging camera in there, and we can see any hot spots. So again, it's predictive maintenance that we're looking at. So we're trying to predict and get ahead of things. We don't want a failure. We want to get ahead of it before it breaks.
And that's the proactive type of maintenance that we strive for overall as an organization.
That's correct. And like I talked about some of our stuff that we do on a quarterly and annual basis. Quarterly, we actually come in and actually send all this load, the data center load, to the generators to ensure all the systems work. So we have a sequence of operations that we follow, and we actually basically simulate a commercial power outage, send all the load in a controlled environment. So that's a test that we do every quarter.
Let's go see those generators.
Yeah, we'll go see those.
So this is a really neat room.
It is.
It's not as pretty.
It is not as
the raised
pretty.
floor.
You're correct, but it serves a purpose.
So we're looking at a generator, but what I'm seeing here is a very large engine.
That's correct. So the very large diesel engine that we have drives the generator right there, and that's what provides the power to the data center in the event we have a commercial power loss. So this system is 2 megawatts. We have actually 4 on site, which serves the space that we looked at. There's 2, so this is one of them, and then we'll see the other one on the other side. But again, you talk about redundancy and resiliency. We have 2 sets of batteries, 2 starters. Again, redundancy built into just the one single generator that we have. We also have 4,000 gallons of diesel fuel on site, capable of running the generator for up to 48 hours at the current load capacity and its design intent. A lot of maintenance that goes on in here. So this is just not a tank of fuel because we don't burn through it like you do in your car. Right. So it typically lasts us a pretty long time. So we do maintenance on the fuel where we sample it, look for any defects in the fuel. We filter it on an annual basis. And we do a lot of testing on that. Same thing with the generators. We come in and we test the coolant, we test the engine oil, we're looking for wear metals, we're looking for anything that's going on inside there so we can predict it. And some of the other things that we do is proactively, we will replace these batteries every 3 years. So they're typically good for 5, but we only let them go for 3. We actually have battery monitoring on these guys as well, so we know what's going on. And then on every 3 years, we come in and change some of the hoses and do some maintenance on different parts of the generators. And every 5 years, we do another program on the generators to ensure they're reliable.
And this is big capital. As I mentioned earlier with the AI data centers, we've seen a lot of people talking about, we want to build these new data centers. We want to put a ton of power generation that comes into it. This is part of it. This is not the cool part that everybody's like, oh, I type in things and it gives me, funny emails. This is the actual thing that's running in the background to make sure that always answers your request.
That is correct. So this is, again, the foundation of what powers all the rest of those services.
And we test these generators quarterly?
Yes, full load on quarter like we talked about there, but every month we come in and we start them up to make sure they're run. They're actually on a pretty specific heating program, so the blocks are already heated, so like your car in the cold, you don't have to warm it up. This thing's ready to go within 30 seconds and the load's transferred to it. And we have all the metrics to measure. We know what's going on with the cooling system and everything with the generator through our EnviroNet program.
When was the last time you did a power on check of your generator? We just saw it, Chip.
Yeah, it looks kind of familiar, doesn't it?
So nice I had to do it twice.
Yeah, so nice we had to do it twice, is right. So again, carrying a theme again for redundancy. This is an A and a B setup, so 2 times our need. So that means these generators at the full load design state run at 50% load. Upon a failure, the other generator can take the whole load or vice versa. And these units support the entire data center that we just looked at. So we have another 2 generators located on the east side of the building that supports our east side of the data center. So,
and I think this is the level of investment and the level of care that we take.
It is.
And I think this is kind of a really great indication of the people who care about this. Ed, you've been here for 24 years.
24 years.
You've mentioned we do some 5-year programs. Like,
we do.
How many of these things have you've gone through replacement projects? How many of these did you put in the first time?
Yeah, I've been here long enough that I'm replacing stuff I put in when I first started. So it's really been an opportunity to have a really great run and a cool exposure to what Expedient does. So some of the investments that we make in replacing things that become end of life, we do it and there's no new revenue associated with it. We do it because it's the right thing to do to provide reliability to our clients every day. So we're replacing from generators to crack units to UPSs to batteries to everything to ensure that we are ahead of the end of life schedule and we're making the investment.
Yeah, we'd love to see that. But let's go talk about the people who actually make sure that this is running all the time, 24/7.
Yeah, fantastic.
Not all of our data centers have a great view, but this is one of them. If you're ever in Denver and you do a data center tour, go take a look around. It's very pretty. And so we wrap up with our operations support center. These are the folks who are here in our data center 24/7. They make sure that when there's issues from our monitoring systems that I showed you earlier, that things are taken care of, that the right people are notified. But they can also do things, if you're a colocation client, that they can go in and do smart hands checking of things like, I have a bad fan or a bad drive, and be able to say, hey, this is happening, letting vendors in, getting vendors to the cages so that they can take care of those failures. One of the other things that we see is that a lot of our clients use colocation and cloud. 63% of our clients have both. So for all of the talk that we've had about enterprise cloud and DR as a service and backup, we know that not everybody has everything lovely and virtualized and ready to go. People have old stuff. They have stuff they just can't get rid of. And I think these facilities are really a testament to all of the work that we've put in to enable clients to have that mixed environment.
Yeah, correct. So we can support, as you said, that mix as clients transform from co-location into the cloud, into virtualization. We're equipped and ready to do that today for them in any kind of capacity to get them there.
Ed, I want to thank you. This is a great tour.
Thanks, AJ.
If you're ever in one of our markets and you would like a tour of your local market's data center, contact your Expedient salesperson, and they can walk you through that local facility and see the unique intricacies of those data centers as well. And we'll send it now to Q&A.